I wanna play airplane. I wanna play airplane. I wanna play airplane. I wanna put my arms out and fly like the Red Baron in a sock with camel. No, wait. Like Superman up in the sky till I can see all of Pennsylvania.
Caption. My dad and I were exactly alike.
I see everything.
Caption. My dad and I were nothing alike. Maps show you what is simple and true. Try laying out a bird's eye view. Not what he told you, just what you see. What do you know that's not your dad's mythology?
I guess I'm older, and it's harder when you're older to begin. Peeling plaster, sagging roof, two missing stairs, a buckled wall. I'm fired up to do this, but on my own, oh, so much damage, broken windows, pipes are shit, crap veneer. It's hours later, Jesus, I'm still standing here.
Your swagger and your bearing and the just right clothes you're wearing. Your short hair and your dungarees and your lace-up boots. And your keys, oh, your ring of keys. I know you. I know you. I know you.
In keeping with the show caption, 3 Allisons, 3 Tony nominations, 1 newly minted Best Musical. And if you've seen the show, you know it's as intimate as storytelling gets, and it certainly played that way. In the round at Circle in the Square, Beth, I think that you've talked about the proximity of people and actually hearing what you've called ugly crying. Talk about being so close in a show that cuts so close to the bone.
It is very vulnerable for the audience as well as for us, and that is something that I've learned as we have gone, through the months of being open. It's like, oh, you can all see each other too, and you're all going to be undone, and you're going to have to do it in front of your fellow man. And that's what is sort of interesting about being in the round. And you look through the play and you look across, and there's another audience looking back at you, and you're all going through this thing together, and it's very intense. And I'm sitting at the piano while Judy sings Days and Days, and I'm surrounded by this collar of humanity. And as Judy just tells this story of the cost of the choices that she's made, the sounds behind me are often like people trying their best not to lose it in public.
Yeah, I think that was me. At least one of those persons was me. Now, Emily, you play middle Allison, college age, coming into your own, having a sexual awakening, and have the great song, I'm Changing My Major. And if you know the song, I had said I'm changing my major to crone because I think Lisa Krone's work is terrific, as is Janine Tesori's.
Me too.
Talking again about this intimate space, you in your underpants, singing of new love or something close to it. Talk about it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I get to hear a lot of like joyous laughter and like, oh, I don't hear a lot of the ugly crying till the end. I hear a lot of people recognizing something in themselves and recognizing that moment in their own history where, oh yeah, I've figured out what I need to be a happy human, and that, I mean, for me has been super cathartic doing this show.
Now, Sydney, you've been with the show since you were 9 years old. You are now 11. Yes, and yeah, it's a show that deals with very adult themes, frankly, candidly, and I think that's its strength. How did you discuss the show, as a 9-year-old, talking to your mom or to your director about what's going on in the show and how you dealt with that?
Well, I kind of got most of it, but I just asked questions like, what is asexual? What does that mean? What is an aneurysm hook? Like that kind of stuff. And I just kept asking questions until I knew.
Yeah, good for you. I think that's one way you obviously learn is by asking questions and listening. Now, the show begins with a great song, Welcome to Our House on Maple Avenue, and I wanted to talk a little bit about your houses, where you grew up. Beth, you're from Nebraska, raised in Colorado.
Born in Nebraska, but left almost immediately.
Okay.
Literally, I was 3 months old and we moved.
Yeah,
So,
it almost doesn't count.
It doesn't count.
The road to Broadway left behind a role of Annie as a girl, Annie Oakley, and some dinner theater. How did all that prepare you to play Allison?
Not at all. The only thing that helped me prepare was like every day of formative experience that you live in your life. And then, like this kind of a thing kind of requires you to bring all of your life and your heart and your mind to it. It's an intellectuals piece. It's built by intellectuals for intellectuals, but it is built with a lot of emotions. So it's a very thinking person's piece of art, but it is also, it requires you to show up with your guts wide open, as a performer too, to sort of like. But Allison, like the way Allison is in the world is she's very. She can objectify kind of almost anything. Subjectify. She can subjectify herself, and that is what I do. So, I mean, to learn that modality, it was a long time. I've been with it for like 3.5, 4 years, and, there were different ways in which I engaged with the material as a character early on that, there are vestiges of old scripts in what I'm doing still. So the layers and layers of just becoming a person who is able to look at their dad's suicide and be like, that's going to be interesting to draw. That's been a weird journey of going like, how does one detach and why? But like dinner theater, it's just like. But I'm telling you, like doing 8 shows a week is a skill. Like having the constitution for repeating performance, for treating the beginning of every play like the beginning of a brand new day and being able to repeat a performance without it becoming repetitive. That is a skill that dinner theater taught me, absolutely.
Or I'm changing my order to steak or something like that, rather than to drink. Emily, you grew up in New York, LaGuardia, right?
I did, yeah.
And so you're just inches from where you're performing. But it seemed to me that your interest or your aspirations began much earlier in terms of theater or performing. You wrote a book, or a play called Stargirl when you were maybe 7 years old, and now it's manifested. Was it something you put out into the world thinking?
Maybe. I think that growing up in New York City, it's kind of, you do two things. You either like awaken yourself and open your eyes to many different kinds of ways of living and lifestyles and people and emotions, or you shut yourself into your apartment. And I had like an incredible babysitter and incredible parents and incredible friends who, we all sort of explored the city together and learned lots of different kinds of stories and met lots of different people. And I think that that's sort of theater. When you go to a show, you're kind of opening yourself up to a new way of life or a new lifestyle. And so I think, growing up in New York changed me profoundly. It built me.
Who was Stargirl exactly? I want to say that.
Okay, so my friend Emma Manson and she's very much like Allison. You'll meet her.
Oh, cool.
But she was sort of the writer, creative brain, and I guess I was sort of the girl. She was the star, and I was the girl. And it was a star coming down at night and having adventures with this girl. And we cast, our entire class and, somehow managed to convince the teacher to, let us perform it during free time. We usurped everyone's free time for our play. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And Sydney actually not just is a Broadway performer, she's actually doing something even tougher. Got into a great school. I like Sydney, Emily was a Theatre World Award winner this year, and Sydney was introduced by Ariane Moad. Am I saying his last name right? It's almost right.
I think.
And he talked about Sydney and how impressive she was.
It's really hard to pronounce.
Yeah, that it wasn't enough that she had done Fun Home at the Public and had killed it at the Public. She basically had to interview and audition and jump hurdles to get into Waterwell, right? But he had such great things to say about your work there. Do you feel that that your school, and now you're going into what, 7th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it give you another creative outlet, or how does it feed? What does school? School as an adventure as much as Broadway?
Well, school is my #1 priority, and grades are very, very, very important to me.
Very. Okay.
No, it's true. The grades are important to me. And I have to get an A on every test, otherwise I just won't. I'll be very upset. So I have to study. Grades are my #1 priority.
Right.
And then acting is like, I go to school in the morning and then I go to work at night. Acting,
That sounds like a different profession.
But I don't really think of acting. I don't really think of acting as a job. It's more like fun and play. It's playtime. But
I need to do more of that kind of thinking. One of the great things about Fun Home is that it's an ensemble piece. It's a democratic piece. I think everyone in the show gets to do something great. Judy Kuhn, who you mentioned, who plays your mother, Michael Service, who just won a Tony, plays your father, and the ensemble people who get to dance on caskets and play the hunky guy who comes in and mom asks, who's he? Yeah. But you also have great moments. Beth, you sing Maps, which is sort of this amazing song about the geometry of one's life. I get emotional talking. That basically the song talks about you can chart the small circle, the small circumference of this man's life. Has it made you think about your own circle? We've talked about where you grew up, and if it's a wider circle.
I think I have an amazingly sophisticated system of denial in place, so that I really haven't. But I'm so still processing the material of Fun Home as it is, because I have it in my mind as Bruce's story, and Bruce is actually a guy. So I think about my own father a lot. I think about my own relationship to my dad a lot in the play, and I picture, those moments, like when he lays down on the ground and he touches your, there's those moments when your life was simple. It was one thing. It was your relationship with your parents. It was all about mom and dad, and all you were was someone's little girl, and that's
that was the best thing in the world to be, and that is it distills all of us down to, we're all so much alike. We all came from two parents, and we were all born out of a union between two people who presumably loved each other. And when you come into this world, you're just so innocent. And really, all you want is for them to see you. That's all you want. Just see me. And so that has been a profound thing it's a meditation. What I do in the play is a meditation. It's a very quiet contemplation of these themes every single night. And then at the end, there's a mourning. And I told Allison, I said, I'm gonna spend a year mourning your dad, and I think that is appropriate. And she was like, yep, thank you for that. Because yes, that is, he's a man whose life deserves no less than a year of mourning.
So if it's not a circle, it could be a trapezoid. It sounds more complicated, your life at this point.
It is complicated.
Yeah, Emily, we talked about changing my major, and I was talking to someone who told me that even before the music was published, that's become this very popular audition song. Because this great song. But I was also thinking how the voice on the Broadway cast album is yours. How does that feel to be, I have cast albums and I think that's the voice that I think of when I think of that song. How great is it to be Middle Allison?
I haven't even thought about that till now, and now my heart is like racing because I have so many albums, and I grew up listening to Judy. I grew up watching Michael. It's so, and it all kind of happened really fast, and we're here, and so when I hear my own voice on the album, I get it's kind of like a fight or flight thing right now. I'm just like, is that me? Is that actually me? But it's amazing. It's really humbling that we have people who come to the show and say, I listen to you. I listen to that song and it does something to me. It's really cool.
And of course, Sydney carried the Tony Awards on those 11-year-old slender shoulders with Ring of Keys. Caption, that's a lot to do. What was that like?
Well, it was definitely very scary, but there's something that happens when you go on the stage. Like backstage, you have butterflies, but you go on stage and it all goes away, and it's like you're home on stage. And there's something that happens when I sing Ring of Keys, and I don't see anybody. I go into this zone. I go into this zone and I don't see anybody but the person who just walked in the door. And when I go off stage, I think about it. I'm like, because I don't remember it. I go into a zone and it just happens. And I'm singing lyrics and yeah.
Yeah, that's a good process. Now, you may not know, but Sydney has played the younger version of Kristen Wiig in 2 different films,
yes.
Correct? She's got another film coming out in August, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who I've heard is quite good. And doing a little homework, and the thing that intrigued me is looking at Sydney's special skills. They include harmonization, memorization, tennis, biking, swimming, piano, guitar, ukulele, gymnastics. There were many more, but also knitting, how did that happen?
I learned to knit from YouTube, where I learn everything. Because one day I'm like, I want to learn how to knit. And then I looked up online, how do you knit? It taught me, and I learned how to knit and purl, and then I taught my brother, and we knit stuff for friends for their birthdays. I just wanted to know how to knit because all my friends knew how to knit.
I'm changing my major to Sydney. So while we're on the subject of special skills, Emily, tell me your special skill that's on
I am an incredible bowler. I am really good, and I don't like to brag. So that's saying something. I'm very good.
Is that true? Highest
It's very
score?
true. 264.
Oh, she remembered. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have your own bowling shoes?
You know, I don't have my own shoes, but I have 3 balls sitting under my bed.
Okay.
Is this live?
I'm not going there. And Beth Malone, who I'm sure has a special skill or two to share.
Emily just said she has 3 balls. Listen, okay. So, let's see. We're going to have a bowling team. Fun Home is going to have a bowling team, and we're going to be called the Bowl Dykes.
Good for you.
My special skills. I am an excellent.
A lot of
I have
things.
horses. I can ride a horse.
Okay. That's a good place to open up questions to the audience. I think there are a lot of them for these ladies, and go ahead.
Hello. So I've been really fortunate that I've seen the show in every iteration since it was a public lab. So I've actually gotten to see like the show really grow. And what I was curious about is, as actors who have been involved in the process, what have been the biggest changes from taking it from the little black box when it was a lab to the proscenium when it was a full run to in the round on Broadway?
The round was definitely I think the biggest change, because there are people all around you, and you can actually have a conversation. I think that definitely really helped with the show to feel a lot more natural.
Yeah, we're sort of living in this bubble, and everyone's on the periphery of it. And my favorite thing that's changed is like it really feels like it's now surrounding you and happening because of you and with you.
Yeah, another huge change happened when it moved from the Shiva to the Newman. Did you saw it at the Shiva? And it was really, the present was my office. Do you remember that? It was very static, and the memories would come to me. And now the place of memory is the defining space, and I'm a visitor there. And that was a huge shift, and I think it's a beautiful shift. Yeah.
Who said it that the theater is now shaped like your brain?
I did.
You did.
I love it in the round because it is the shape of a cranium, and it's like you're all just bouncing around the inside because it really is all a memory play. So.
I guess we're going to keep going down the line. My question is, I mean, I saw the video after the whole, the release of the law being approved. Did you guys know during the show that, how did it feel to know that,
That night was so electric, right?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
house
crazy.
was so happy. There was a buzzing in the air that night. Every single thing we said and did that night was just received like a sponge. You remember? I mean, it was just crazy. It was really amazing. And then we didn't know what we were going to really do afterwards. They brought the gay flag out, and I was like, the recipient of it, because I'm the one who's a married lesbian. Like, I'm the one, it's like, you're married, let's give it to her, So it's like, yay, I'm married in so many more states now. And and I just thought, there's a thing that happened when you start a Broadway show, the gypsy runs around the circle 3 times, and it was sort of like the gypsy robe of marriage equality. That's what happened.
How you doing? First off, Beth, I think we found your bowling shoes, and Sydney is wearing them as we speak. Purple Rain. I'm in love with it. My question is the cranium. How is it like performing in the center of the stage, the circle, so to speak, versus traditional theater?
It's amazing.
I think because they're so close, everyone's so close to us, and we can really hear everything, and they can really hear us. It really feels very immediate, and like more than any other show I've ever done, we really have to take the time to make sure, like you were saying, that it's happening for the first time every time it's happening, because people can see if you're phoning it in, versus like being all the way in the balcony. So it does become a meditation.
It is very, it keeps you honest. Like, people breathing right next to you, it's like, and
P.S. If you're listening to this and you're coming, we can hear you. Please,
see you.
so like open your candy wrappers before and turn off your cell phones.
That one.
And we can see you. So don't check your watch. We've had people that have done that.
Or fall asleep in the front row or
my
wear
favorite
white.
is when you said, and I became a lesbian cartoonist, and someone in the second row went, she said lesbian cartoonist. You remember that?
And when I was doing a scene with Judy, it was after she said euphemism, and then and Judy and I both heard it, and we kind of paused for a minute because the person in the front row was like, euphemism. She said euphemism.
It's always the old New Yorkers.
Yes, we said euphemism.
I think we have time for one more, but if I could get one last in. What I've heard, I talked to Judy Kuhn 2 days ago for my podcast, and she was talking about the fact that this is a show like none other that people say thank you, but they also feel compelled to share. Is that true for you, Beth?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been an amazing thing. We think of that hour after the show as the second act because we are, in a one act. It goes by pretty fast, and then the second act is coming up and having people still processing what they have just been through, and they want to do it with you. So that has been cathartic and amazing, and a lot of responsibility at times, and intense, very intense. Not like you get to walk out of something rotten and go, bye, wasn't I funny? It was like, it's like people come up to you and want to say, hey, I'm just about to come out of the closet, and it's...
Yeah, and that's my dad over there, and he doesn't know. It's like stuff like that. It's very real and it's very immediate, and it's like, we kind of have a responsibility as the fun home people to be like, hey, I see you. Like, that is great,
One last question.
Hi. Seen the show twice. It's absolutely amazing. I got the pleasure of seeing the dress rehearsal for the Tony Awards as well. I was wondering, for all three of you, what was your favorite, memory of that day? What was it like going through Tony Day from beginning to end?
I can't pick one. All right. All right. So, it was not only that day, but all the days leading up to that from the Tony nominations. Some of my favorite parts were meeting Cheetah Rivera, who is I cannot believe she is 82 because she's so young at heart. And oh my gosh, Kristen Chenoweth is so nice. I love her. And then of course me figuring out my dress, and the morning of the Tony Awards when I got to say goodbye to my brother Jake, who I wasn't gonna see all day until the dress rehearsal for the in memoriam, and then after that, the actual in memoriam, so I wasn't gonna see him for a while. And I think the whole day I loved. I can't pick one.
It was amazing to be backstage with everybody in enormous costumes, like feathers and spangles and bedazzled everything and rushing by, and they're enormous casts, and everybody's backstage going, okay, what? And it's like this big hullabaloo, and me and Michael are standing there in our corduroys. And people are like, excuse me, it's like people thought we were in the crew. It was like, can I have a headset? It was amazing.
The greatest trick that I've ever learned, I forget who taught me, that's bad, but anxiety and excitement are the same physiological response, and it's just about the way you think about it and how you deal with it. And so I was really nervous, but I somehow got into denial, and it convinced myself I was really excited, and I had the greatest night of all time, ever.
We had so much fun. We shared an Uber down, and then when we drove through the people were lined up behind the barricades, and we had our phones out, and we were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like this doesn't happen to us. It's
I
like,
was
we're
like-
just thinking, wow.
Yeah, I was so excited to be there. They were so excited to be there. I was like, yeah, we're here. Like, all of us.
And then she got out, and she was wearing this enormous dress, and she was like, I'm wearing a big dress.
And she still says 3 balls under her bed. But so, and that's a good spot to wrap. I love the show, and I'm glad I got to talk to you. Thanks so much.